Hello, students and listeners at home. You are welcome to today's online teaching. My name is Okeke Evangeline from Christian Religious Studies Department of St. Charles College, Onitsha. Our topic for today will be called to freedom. But before we proceed, let us look at the specific objectives. And they are, by the end of the lesson, the students will be able to 1. Define freedom. 2. Tell the story of the belt of Moses. 3. Narrate the story of the call of Moses. 4. Tell the story of how Deborah and Barak lead their people to freedom. 5. State the significance of Deborah's role as a leader in Israel. 6. Name the eminent frontiers in Nigeria that obtain freedom for the people. Then to the definition proper, the meaning of freedom. What is freedom? Freedom simply means being free, the right to do what you want without being controlled or restricted by anyone. It is not being held by any force, whether visible or invisible. A free person takes his decision, implements the decision, and evaluates his actions without interference of any other person. Having listened to the definition of freedom, now let's see how Moses led the people of Israel to their freedom. The birth of Moses. You can see this in Exodus 2, 1-10. At the peak of the Egyptian oppression on the children of Israel, a Levite named Amram got married to a Levite woman named Jochebed. The Egyptians were afraid with the increasing number of the Israelites would join their enemies in oppressing them. The Egyptian king ordered that all male children of the Hebrews should be cast into Nile. Moses came into the world during the existence of Pharaoh's decree. Moses was hidden for 3 months and set afloat in a basket on the river Nile. Pharaoh's daughter, who went in company of her maidens to bathe in the river, saw Moses. The story continues. He saw Moses and saved his life and named him Moses, which means drawn out of water. Upon the advice of Miriam, Moses' sister, who had watched all this, secures the nursing service of his own mother. Moses grows up in Pharaoh's court, but at the age of 40, fled the land of Egypt and took refuge in Midian. He married Zipporah, the daughter of Jethro, and lived the next 40 years as a shepherd before his divine call. You can see the picture of the birth of Moses. The woman with the crown on her head is Pharaoh's daughter that saw Moses when she went to bathe in the river Nile with the servants. And the little girl is Moses' sister. Her name is Miriam. So this is when Moses was rescued from the river Nile, as God may have it, because our God is wonderful. Then after the birth of Moses, as we have seen and heard the story, God then called Moses to do what? To lead the people of Israel to their freedom. So let's listen to the story. You can see this in Exodus 3, 1-15. Moses was tending the flock of his father-in-law. So he led them to the west side of the wilderness and came to Mount Horeb. And here the Lord appeared to Moses in a burning bush, which was not consumed. God called Moses from the midst of the fire and directed him to put off his shoe, for where he stood was a holy ground. The Lord went on to introduce himself as the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. He told Moses that he had seen the suffering of his people in Egypt, heard their cry because of their taskmasters, and he, the Lord, has come to deliver them to a land flowing with milk and honey, the land of Canaan. God therefore instructed Moses to go to Pharaoh and ask for the release of the Hebrews. Moses felt too inferior to go on this mission, but God promised that his presence would go with him. Then Moses inquired of God what name he would tell the Israelites in case they asked him the name of that God that sent him. God told him that I am who I am. So God told Moses to say that I am has sent me to you. Then Moses complained of being a stammerer. To be Moses' spokesman, God gave him Aaron. Moses had no other excuses to give to God than to go with Aaron to Pharaoh in Egypt to ask for the release of the Israelites from their bondage. By this, God planned using Moses to effect the freedom of his people Israel. Their freedom was both political, social, and religious. For the first time as a people, they realized what it meant to be free. Their freedom was not that of do what you like, but a freedom under the law. You can see the picture of the burning bush where God called Moses. Students, if you look very well at this image, you can see that definitely the bush is burning. The fire is on the bush, but it is not burning. This is to show how wonderful our God is. And at this particular mountain, Sinai or Horeb, he gave Moses the instruction on how to lead the people of Israel to their freedom. Having listened to the story of how God delivered the people of Israel from the hand of Pharaoh by using Moses to lead them to their freedom, let us now see the qualities of Moses as a person. They are: 1. Moses has total faith in God. Yes, he believes in God, which he displayed in the face of dangers. And because of that faith he had in God, he went ahead as God has directed him, believing God. 2. He loved his people. 3. Moses was fearless and bold, though he was a stammerer. Now, students, having listened to the story of Moses and the qualities of Moses, which made God to choose him, and how he led the people of Israel to freedom, let us now look at another version of the story of freedom. Remember that our topic is on call to freedom. So this is how Deborah and Barak led the people of God to their freedom. And you can see this in Judges 4. Judges were charismatic or anointed leaders appointed by God from time to save Israel from the hands of their enemies. Deborah was a prophetess, wife of Lapidot, and a judge in Israel. God used her to deliver the children of Israel from the oppressive Canaanite king called Jabin. Deborah resided near the border of Benjamin and Ephraim and administered justice under the palm tree of Deborah. Her inspiring presence gave Israel the courage to face their enemies. The people of Israel saw her qualities and began to approach her for settlements of their disputes. In most of these cases, Deborah gave a very sound judgment acceptable to the partners involved. In fact, she was a good judge with great faith in God. The people approached with complaints of the oppression they face. Deborah, in reaction to the people's cry, and as directed by God, summoned Barak, the army commander of Israel, who was the son of Abinoam from the tribe of Naphtali in Israel. Deborah directed Barak to go and gather 10,000 men from the tribes of Naphtali and Zebulun and face Sisera and his soldiers in war at the river Kishon, with an assurance that God would give him victory. Deborah then summoned Barak, the son of Abinoam, from Kadesh in Naphtali, and urged him to lead the Israelites against Jabin, the king of Canaan. Barak was afraid and requested Deborah to come along with him to the battle. He said to her, "If you will go with me, I will go. But if you will not go with me, I will not go." Judges 4 verse 8. Deborah agreed to go with him, but told him that the glory would go to a woman, and thus Deborah slain King Jabin. Here, we can see that Barak was afraid because the king of Canaan named Jabin is a known king that has much army, greater than that of Israel. But because God has used Deborah, the people of Israel won the world's victory as they fought against King Jabin. And God showed them here that really, he was the one that used Deborah to free them from the bondage of King Jabin. Having listened to the two stories about Moses freeing the people of Israel and Deborah and Barak freeing the people of God, the people of Israel too. So let's now look at the significance of Deborah's role as a leader in Israel. They are: 1. She was a charismatic leader with the ability to inspire devotion and enthusiasm. 2. She was courageous and commanded respect among the Israelites. 3. She was known as the mother of Israel. 4. Her inspiring presence gave the Israelites courage to face their enemies. 5. She was tactful. She agreed to accompany Barak to battle at his request. 6. She was persuasive and prudent. She promised to draw out Sisera, their adversary, to face defeat, and she accomplished the promise. 7. She was intelligent and cautious and had a good vision of her mission and won Israel the much desired victory over Sisera and Jabin, the king of Canaan. 8. Her faith in God was unshakable. Then, having seen the role and the significance of Deborah as a leader in Israel, and having listened to how Moses freed his people, the people of God, let's now look at the eminent Nigerians that obtained freedom for their people too. Some nationalists were of great help in the actualization of political freedom in Nigeria. Such leaders include: 1. Dr. Nnamdi Azikiwe. 2. Chief Obafemi Awolowo. 3. Sir Ahmadu Bello. 4. Alhaji Abubakar Tafawa Balewa. They fought very hard and secured independence for Nigeria from the British rule in October 1960. Here specializes more on the freedom of politics, the freedom of people of the world. They also try their best in gaining freedom for the people. My students, to crown it all, freedom is the right to do what you want without being controlled or restricted by anyone. Moses was born of godly parents during Pharaoh's decree to kill the Hebrews' male children. and hidden for 3 months. Moses received his divine call from the burning bush to deliver Israel. And Deborah, on her own side, who was the fourth judge of the Israelites, was helped by Barak to defeat the Canaanites. Students, hope you enjoyed the lesson. So let's now evaluate ourselves with these following questions. 1. Define freedom. 2. Tell the story of the birth of Moses. 3. Narrate the story of the call of Moses. 4. Tell the story of how Deborah and Barak led their people to freedom. 5. State the significance of Deborah's role as a leader in Israel. 6. Name the eminent frontiers in Nigeria that obtained freedom for the people. You read up the following chapters from your Bible. 1. Exodus 2, 1-10. 2. Exodus 3, 1-15. 4. Judges 4, 1-27. Answer the questions, the evaluation questions, and send to my contacts through WhatsApp. And if you have any other questions to ask, you can ask through my personal contacts 0817 477 4841. Thanks for listening and see you next time.